Okay, welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. If I'm not mistaken, this is episode number 67. We are climbing up the rankings or acquiring more, whatever, however you want to put it. Today was your decision, your choice. So we're going to discuss two bands, Hail the Void and Four Trips Ahead. So I will let you take the reins, whichever one you want to talk about first.
Let's talk about Hail the Void
Okay.
first. Yeah. And, you know, they're from British Columbia and I think they made a splash when they came out with their debut record. That was in 2020 and they came on the scene and it ended up winning Best Debut Album on the first annual Doomed and Stoned Awards. So, I think there was quite a bit of buzz about it. And now with this new album, I saw a lot of posts about it, people posting about it. I saw the album cover posted a lot, and it seems like people are really, really liking it. So it came out, I believe, yeah, it was released February 17th. So I knew eventually that I wanted to talk about it.
Right. The latest album is called Memento Mori.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was just released on this year, February 17th. The first thing I went back and I listened to their debut album too, and I also to the new album as well. The first thing that struck me were the vocals. Just strong and powerful, but they don't overpower the music, which I think is great. It's not constant singing at top register. There is some softness also. I think the vocals are just incredible, and I think they add a whole nother dimension to the music. The new album, I think it's been recommended a lot for a really good reason. I mean, it's I mean, it's incredible. If I didn't know the band or the music, the 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 album cover just really, really struck me. If I was not familiar with this music, like if I went to a record store and I was flipping through the records and I saw this cover, I'd be compelled to buy it. That there's just something about it. There's something about it. There's it's mystical. It's got a black robe and then you can't see the person's face. It's like a void. And then there's these flowers and a couple of butterflies on each side. And it's just really, really beautiful. It was done by Welder Wings or Wilder. No, Welder Wings. And I think I have to put it up there with one of my favorite album covers of all time. That's how much I like it. The music, it's powerful. This has been one of my favorite releases this year. This just emphasizes why I like Doom so much. I love the entire album, but I'm going to pick out the song 100 Pills. And as soon as I saw the title, I pretty much knew what the song was about. It's gut-wrenching, and there's so much emotion in his voice. It really touched me. This album is so well done, and definitely I don't think it's going to be forgotten. And I think if you listen to it, I think it will touch you too.
So there we go. Hail the Void, Memento Mori, getting end of the year list endorsements from Heather, and
Yeah.
we're only in April. And that actually reminds it. That's a great segue. So, if you don't mind, I when I was playing guitar in a for a school production when I was teaching, I was friends with the English teacher who wrote the play and also directed it. And I was playing guitar, and there was a student who was playing bass. And it was one night performance. So the show ended, and I'm in the parking lot about to go home, and I run into the student who played bass and his father. And I said to him, you know, your son's a really phenomenal musician. One day I will be able to tell people I played with him. And then we both sort of like we waited. We both waited for that to settle. And I didn't. What I was thinking is I really should tell him that I need to refer. But I think he understood. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, when you just said that out, Hail the Void, it reminded me of
Yeah, yeah.
my my days as a teacher. But yeah, I agree with it. Was interesting because as I was listening to it, um, it struck me that it definitely built upon a Doom foundation, but it really provided a lot of melody. Um, and even the song you mentioned, "100 Pills," and some of the songs on the first album were not as distorted and much more melodic. And the whole time I was trying to think who does this remind me of? And then I went on uh, the Metal Archives website, and um, someone had reviewed Memento Mori, and I think they had mentioned the band Windhand, and I was like, okay, I can see they certainly don't sound like Windhand, but I can see how they have unique operatic vocal deliveries against doom metal.
Yeah,
And it was interesting because the a person went on to say that the vocalist had sort of a Danzig type delivery, like kind of a not bluesy, but sort of that baritone. I think it would be baritone type voice, and they become even more like they unleash their inner Danzig in the second album, whereas there's just sort of hints of it. So I thought that was because I kept trying to figure out like how do I want to articulate this? I can't quite put my finger on it. Let me go to
yeah,
the old metal archives,
yeah,
see if
yeah.
someone has already said it better than I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I don't I don't think there has been a time when you've recommended a band that I've disagreed with you and thought we shouldn't listen to them. Um, and a couple of times you're like, no, 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 check this out. It's going to change your world. And this is one of those times. So when you do that, you've earned enough cred in my book to be like, okay, if Heather recommends this album, drop what you're doing and listen to it. So,
And I was trying to, the vocals, they reminded me. I was trying to, like you, I was trying to, think of what they reminded me of, and I couldn't quite place it. I couldn't quite place it. But we did talk about the slow green thing, and I think the way there's so much emotion, that comes through the vocals, and it makes you feel, you know, like it makes you feel. It really reminded me of how Slow Green Thing, their vocals are the same way. Just so there's just so much feeling in it. And I'm not a technical person. Like, I technically break down all the technical aspects of the music. I'm more of how does it make me feel.
right.
Oh, that's how
Yeah,
I.
no, that's, as a fan, I would imagine most people don't listen to the music and have insight as to how it's made.
Yeah,
It's like you can go to a restaurant and appreciate the food and not know how the chef did it.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but as the kid, I keep going back to my teaching. As the kids would say, it hits you right in the feels.
yeah,
So if you're looking for good Doom that's potentially end of the year material, that hits you right in the feels, then check out Hail the Void.
Yeah. And why are we hailing the void?
I mean, that's the ultimate. That was the question I asked you. I must have. I went down a deep rabbit hole of like trying to figure out, first of all, what is the void, and why and
Yeah.
and why am I being commanded to hail it? I mean, it
Yeah.
was just I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I think many of them were answered in the music. It was like, okay, I still maybe don't know, but the music is so good, I'm willing to do it. I will hail the void.
Well, I well, I think why are we hailing the void? I think it's to find personal meaning in life.
There you go.
What is the void? Like I Googled it. I asked Mother Google, what is the void? And this is what I got. This is the answer that I got. The void is the philosophical concept of nothingness manifested. The notion of the void is relevant to several realms of metaphysics. The void is also prevalent in numerous facets of psychology. Notably, logotherapy is freedom of will to meaning, and meaning of life.
That's awesome. Yeah, like Mother Gaia, since it was just Earth Day, but you went to Mother Google.
Yeah.
That's cool. And it's interesting because logotherapy was created by Viktor Frankl, whose book helped me navigate through some of the more difficult elements of my brain injury recovery. Um, yeah, his book was called Man's Search for Meaning,
Ah.
and he actually survived being in 4 different concentration camps during World War II. So he talked about how you can find meaning and beauty in things that you wouldn't think, and that could be the void. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then, yeah, okay, and well, Schopenhauer had the will to life, and Nietzsche had the will to power, and I guess Frankl was the will to meaning. So, I mean, I mean, now that you've brought this up, I have a whole healthy like this is like another door just got opened for me to wrap my mind around hailing the void. So
Yeah. And who's commanding me to hail the void? I think you should command yourself to
yeah,
hail
well,
the void.
that's most existential philosophers believe that there isn't an objective, like universal meaning to life, that you're supposed to figure out what's important to you. So hail the void, I feel like is the perfect answer to, like I agree with you. Find the meaning in your life and hail the void, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. Because it's going to mean something different to everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, other bands, some other bands that are commanding us to do stuff, like more in the light, loot the body,
Okay.
and dead man dance.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, loot the body and dead man dance is beginning to take more of a sinister turn.
uh,
Um, I mean, I don't know if I'm quite ready to do either yet, but
yeah.
I mean, I feel like now I'm going to return to contemplating Hail the Void, and I'm probably going to call you at like 4 o'clock in the morning with all sorts of questions. But wow, you just blew my mind with with a whole new thing to think about. Um,
Yeah. Well, and in practicing yoga, they they tell you to you know, concentrate, like to eliminate everything from your mind, kind on your breath, and concentrate on the movement, the movements that you're doing. And that's
right.
pretty much the only thing you can think about, is doing the movements, concentrating on your breath. And like everything else in your mind is just gonna go away because you're just gonna be present in that moment.
Absolutely. And that's hailing the void. Um,
Maybe.
yeah. Well, and again, this will be the third time I bring up it being a teacher, but just dissecting the sentence, the subject is one of my personal favorites and understood you. So when I was in school and I would have to diagram sentences, and you'd have to write where the subject and the verb was. The verb in this case to hail, but the subject is you in parentheses, the understood you. So it's a command, hail the void. And like we've said, what the void could be is sort of open to interpretation.
Yeah,
But
but yeah, but if I can, you know, check out, definitely check out their music, and I think, well, you'll have a better understanding of what we're talking about, you
there's
know,
yeah,
and
there's a great scene in Almost Famous where William's sister leaves home and to become a flight attendant, but she leaves him all her vinyl records, and she leaves him a note that says, if you play, I forgot which album it was by The Who, like if you play this album by The Who while staring at a candle, you'll see your future.
yeah,
So I feel like if you listen to Memento Mori while looking at the cover of Memento Mori, you'll probably figure out what the void is and why you should be hailing it.
yeah, yeah,
So that's that. I mean, that's what I don't look in a mirror and say Candyman 5 times or anything like that, but feel free to listen to Memento Mori while looking at the cover and listen to what Heather is talking about and just let your mind, expand.
yeah, yeah. Free
Cool.
your mind.
Free your mind. Exactly.
Yeah.
When Heather tells you to free your mind, it would behoove you to follow her.
All right.
All right. Should we do 4 trips ahead?
Yeah. Yeah, 4 trips ahead. They got to, I just did a little background looking around to try to find out a little bit more about them. They got together in 2003 in New York. Their EP Remnants is available digitally and to stream. They have a few lyric videos that are up on YouTube, so I would recommend checking those out. And I looked them up on YouTube Music, and there are 4 albums of theirs that you can stream on YouTube Music. Um, an interesting thing I saw, I was looking around on Bandcamp, and I was kind of looking through all their releases on Bandcamp, and their song Good Times Goodbye, which was released in 2013, you know, drummer and engineer Nick Cipriano he won a Grammy Award. So I thought that was pretty cool. But listening to their album Remnants, my favorite song on the album is Follow Me, which is the last song. And it reminded me of the song Wasted Years by Iron Maiden. So it's like I really would love to know if Iron Maiden was an influence for them in their music. So I wanted to ask you what do you think?
It's so funny that you mentioned that
Yeah.
because that was the impression whether or not Iron Maiden has directly influenced them. Um,
Yeah.
they're one thing because they're sort of a more of a melodic metal band. and the singer's voice is operatic. Um, but yeah, there are moments where I was like, huh, okay, yeah, this. I feel like at some point the members have listened to Iron Maiden, and that's become influential.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was a. I listened to Remnants also, and it's just a fun. Like there's some music I feel like you put it on when you want to experience something, if you need to process emotions or if you need to do something. And then there's also music that's just fun to listen to, that you can, like, if you need to work through something, you can listen to it and do that. But if you also just want to hear some good tunes and just jam out, then you can do that too. So
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking about. I was like, I'd like to go see Four Trips Ahead because I feel like their show would be fun. It would just be a good time.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I definitely heard, or not even heard Iron Maiden, but the impression I got was, okay, this is, if you're a fan of Iron Maiden, you'll like listening to Four Trips Ahead.
Yeah. And I'm a huge Iron Maiden fan.
Yeah,
No, yeah. So yeah, that's why I would love to know if maybe they were an influence on this band, because I definitely can, kind of see some similarities, you
yeah.
know?
I think it's interesting. Like when you and I talk about similarities and stuff, it's not that any of these bands are copying the bands we're talking about. It's just the impression is that, like, the influence is there.
Yeah.
Um, I think everyone these days are influenced by certain bands that have come before them. So, but yeah, no, I definitely detected, like, oh yeah, this sounds either melodically, the playing or the singing or both. It was very much influential.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's fun. We listen to Doom a lot, and sometimes it's fun just to listen to some metal, you know?
yeah, well, I remember it was interesting. It was so I think I don't know if it was like the early 90s or the mid 90s at some point, but I remember Vince Neil from Motley Crue giving an interview about grunge. And he was like, he was like, I appreciated it. I just didn't get, like, where was the fun? Like, we were all just about having fun and, having a good time. And then, like, you just don't, he's like, you just don't, like, they just don't seem like they're having fun. It's just, and I get, like, I understood what he was saying, like, and I would never change. Oh, sorry, that was my mother. Let me mute her. No, not mute her. Just I'm gonna let her know that I can talk to her in a few minutes. For those of you out there that are like, don't mute your mom. So yeah. So anyway, like, there's a time when you do just want to have fun. Um, Cyndi Lauper sung about that frequently. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, Four Trips Ahead, if you want to use them to process through emotions, you can. If you also just want to rock out, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, I'm really glad you suggested Hail the Void, because they will find their way into my rotation as I stare at the cover and try to figure out, existential dilemmas.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Cool. All right.
How
Well, go on.
the book that you mentioned, the the book
Oh,
that you
man, search for
mentioned.
meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that help you with your recovery?
Well, at the beginning, I was having trouble. So many of the goals that I'd had before my injury either weren't as important anymore or would be too difficult to do. So I kept thinking, well, I don't know if there's anything else more valuable that would motivate me to want to move forward in a happy place. Um, and when I read this book, I was like, well, if this guy can find happiness in the most dire of circumstances, and then that sort of began thinking like, okay, well, maybe I should consider that it's not all, that there's opportunity out there, and just continue to work towards developing that. So it was helpful in sort of giving me something that I could hold on to in terms of like, don't give up. There's stuff, there's stuff out there that'll be enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a great, I mean, it's a great book. I think you can probably, I think it's probably free, um, online if you want to read it that way, or um, it is obviously really powerful and difficult at times, but the message is really good. And yeah, and you can contemplate existential things by listening to Hail the Void. There's a lot you can do. I would recommend reading the book, listening to the music, doing it all.
Yes. Yes. That sounds good.
Yeah. Well, anything else for this episode?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, um, thank you for bringing Hail to the Void and Four Trips Ahead to my attention. And I believe next week I found a band. I think it's pronounced Droogs, but I'm not, because there's two umlauts, so I don't know. I don't know how that works, but we will find out.
Yes, and I don't think I've ever heard their music, so
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to checking them out.
I don't know if I have either. I may have just seen the name and thought, okay, that's it. Could be Droogs, but there's umlauts over both O's. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the correct pronunciation. But by the time we talk about them, I'll try to learn the correct pronunciation.
Okay.
So cool.
All right.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.